So I'm just wrapping up an incredible launch, and I wanted to share with you guys the biggest takeaways that I had and the biggest lessons learned, because this was a huge learning experience for me. The results were incredible, and it's given me a ton of insight on the next best steps in my business. So I'll just give you a quick overview of the launch, and then I'll get into the lessons. So the launch itself was a promotional offer for my coaching. It was my Accelerator program, which is a VIP one-on-one coaching program. And I included 2 extra months of coaching for free. Leading up to it, I did a masterclass on client attraction, and that created a lot of buzz. I had like 70 people register for that. I had 30 people attend, and a bunch of people watch the replay. So it created a lot of buzz and a lot of visibility on what I do and who I can help. Now, following that, I launched into a week-long promotion where I offered 2 extra months of coaching for free for anybody who applied by a certain date. And I got a ton of applications. I got like 20 applications, started talking with some amazing coaches. And through that process, I learned a ton about my audience, about my marketing, about who I'm resonating with and who's coming forward to want to work with me. And so I want to share my biggest takeaways. Now, takeaway number 1 is the importance of messaging. So I'm looking at the alignment through my whole funnel right now, and I'm looking at like who's coming through on the front end, what stage of their coaching business are they in? Are they like early stage, had a couple clients, have some momentum? Are they already at like the 5 to 10K a month range and have, consistent clients, but their issues are more with growth and scaling, lead gen, putting out content that resonates and having an enrollment process to get clients? Or are they on the total opposite end of the spectrum? Are they like, hey, I need a roadmap to get launched and I'm working a 9 to 5 and I need help with the actual launch strategy and starting to get my first few clients, putting my coaching program together, all of that. So I attracted people at all ends of the spectrum. People who are just getting launched, people who are already established with momentum, and people making like 5 to 10K a month who are like, hey, I want to scale. So what this reflects back to me is that I need to get a little bit clearer on my messaging and be more specific about who I work with. So my next moves are, I'm going to start offering more insightful, down to business type content that's designed to help coaches who have already had their first few clients and have momentum. Now, even if you're just getting launched, this is still going to be helpful for you because you're going to be able to see a couple steps ahead, and these insights are going to help you with your marketing, your client attraction process, your lead generation, your enrollment process, all the things you need to build the business still. However, it's going to be more targeted towards a higher level of coach who's already got momentum and already starting to work with clients. Now, the messaging is huge, and having alignment through the whole funnel is huge because, for example, now I have to go back to my ads. I have to see like, okay, how am I calling out to people? Like, who am I addressing in my ads? What are these pain points and goals and aspirations, and what type of client are they speaking to? Because that's who's coming through at the very front end. Now, after that, there's also a long nurture cycle. So, for example, some people who applied to work with me have been, following me for at least 5 months, and they've seen my ads, they've been getting my emails, text messages, seeing my content online, and they had a chance to work with me and they finally applied. Now, also, I'm getting people who are unfamiliar with me who have been in the funnel for maybe a week. They opted in for my ad, saw this promotion a week later, decided to apply, and these people are a lot less familiar with me. And so the people who have been in there longer, I have to be very mindful of the messaging that I'm using and who's coming out the other side, because essentially how you nurture people is going to weed out like who's resonating with you and who's not. And so I find that if I'm a little too spiritual, for example, in my messaging, I attract a lot of amazing people who are very spiritually minded, but they're not business oriented necessarily. And it's a little bit harder for them to get results for that reason. Now, if I'm speaking a little bit to that and a little bit to the business side, then I kind of get a good balance of both. So I'm going to kind of dial in my messaging a little more around business related issues, business goals, what people are maybe struggling with who are in a growth phase. And again, even if you're just getting started, it's going to be helpful for you because you're going to be able to see like 3 or 4 steps ahead of where you are. So having the right messaging on the front end, alignment in the middle, where the nurture process is also speaking to that ideal avatar. And then when I run these promotions as well, it's like, how am I speaking to my audience in this time where I'm calling to the person that, I truly want to work with and truly want to help. So I experimented with a few different things. I was speaking to people who, have a 9-to-5 and want to leave their 9-to-5 and go full-time as a coach. And sure enough, some of those people applied. And then I also was speaking to like higher level coaches who want to scale to multiple 6 figures, and some of those people applied. And then I speak to people who want to get launched, and some of those people applied. So I'm finding that the messaging is really powerful, and it's a mirror for who you're going to get on the other side. So I highly recommend, as you're growing your audience, whether you're running ads, you're prospecting, making connections on LinkedIn, whatever the case, you ensure that on the front end, you really have your ideal client identified, and that you're spending your time reaching out to them, or at least attracting them through your lead ads. And then in the nurture phase as well, that your messaging is consistent for that right type of person. Because I don't know if you've experienced this, but if you are getting a lot of people on calls who are like either not a great fit for your coaching or can't quite afford it, then it's likely an issue with your messaging and your client avatar. So I've gotten a lot of variety in terms of who's applying to work with me, and it's making me see I need to refine my messaging and refine my client avatar. And those are like 2 high leverage activities that are going to lead to mega increased profitability. So if you're at a phase in your coaching business where like you've had your first few clients, you're making some content, you have people coming through who are interested in working with you, but it's kind of a mixed bag, then I would suggest that you 100% focus on your client avatar and how your messaging relates to that person, because that's going to be key for getting those people through to the other side and applying to work with you and hopping on calls. So that's the huge takeaway number 1, messaging and avatar. And that's going to be my main focus for the next evolution of my business. Now, apart from that, the launch is a highly emotional process. So I'll share with you guys some insights on that. Essentially, I was promoting this offer anywhere from 2 to 4 times a day, and leveraging, all my channels, text message, email, Facebook group, social medias. And I was getting, a variety of applications, some from organic, some from ads, some from my Facebook group. And what I found worked really well is like sharing testimonials, helping overcome objections, answering commonly asked questions in the content, sharing who it's for, sharing how it can help them, the benefits. All of this is really powerful in terms of like attracting the right person into your application funnel. Now, with it being an emotional process, like I said, I was putting out content like 2 to 4 times a day, and sometimes I would get no applications in a day, and it's like, oh my gosh, is this working? Am I doing it wrong? And then like the next day I'd get like 5 applications, and then once I kind of figured out what was working, I started to get 2 to 3 a day, and that was really awesome. So it's a bit of an emotional process because you're like, wow, like, is this working? You got to kind of do some mental gymnastics and keep yourself in a good state, and ultimately focus on the positive, focus on what's working, be grateful that the fact that strangers are applying to work with me and booking calls with me, that is huge. And yeah, it's like you got to just stay in a good positive state throughout the entirety of the launch to really maintain momentum all the way through. Now on the back end, I'm still having calls with people. All of that's going to be complete by the end of next week. So super grateful for that. There's a ton of potential out there right now. There's at least 4 to 6 clients who look like they're going to sign up. So super excited for that. And next week is kind of the determining week when I finish out all the calls. So super excited for the direction it's gone in. But yeah, again, it's an emotional process, and you got to stay on point, and you got to stay grateful. And the third thing I'll say is that it requires a great deal of faith, because once you put yourself out there, it's like you can't force people to apply. You can't force people to come on board. So you need to have some faith in the outcome, because it's like you put it out there and you have to see what comes back. And so I'm kind of in that in-between phase right now where it's like I did the work, got the amazing results, had my first few calls, and now I'm just waiting to see what the outcome is. So I would say those are my biggest lessons from this launch. You know, number one, it's important to have the right messaging, the right avatar in mind, and have alignment through your entire funnel with that. Number two, it's an emotional process, so focus on the positive, be grateful for what's working, and continue to iterate and continue to lean into what's working. And yeah, number three, having faith in the outcome as you go. And I will say this too, number four is it's a bit polarizing for your audience, because I haven't tried selling my audience anything for at least since I started. So since I started running ads was like 5 months ago, and I hadn't tried selling anything really. I invited people to work with me here and there, but you know, never did like a full week-long promotion like this. And so it's polarizing to your audience, and it kind of forces people to pick a side. It's like, okay, am I on the boat? Am I on board with this? Like, is this something I want? Or, nah, you know, this person's not for me, and I'm going to unsubscribe or unfollow or, you know, get off the list, whatever it might be. So it's good to have that polarizing moment where they have to kind of choose a path. And anybody who sticks it out with you through a launch is going to be great for the long term. So anyways, those are my biggest lessons from my last launch. I'll keep you guys updated. There's more to share after this next week kind of pans out. And yeah, super grateful for all of you. And I look forward to working with you all and continuing with you on this journey of growth and prosperity. See you in the next walk and talk.